What is the matrix in low consciousness? You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. The hypnosis of humanity. The matrix is a mental prison, a collective illusion in which humanity is submerged. From birth, we are programmed to see the world the way the rulers of this illusion want us to see it. We are taught that we are weak and mortal. We are taught that happiness lies outside of us, in money, status, and possessions. We are taught to depend on systems, school, work, governments, and religion. We are taught that death is inevitable. But all of these beliefs are lies. The structure of the matrix. The matrix is built on several layers of control. 1. The body. Through physical needs like food, shelter, and safety, we are made dependent on the system. 2. The mind. Our beliefs and thoughts are programmed through education, media, and religion. 3. The soul. The deepest layer, our divine nature, is kept hidden, so we do not remember ourselves as immortal beings. The illusion of fear and control. Fear is the foundation of the matrix. By keeping people in a constant state of fear, of illness, poverty, war, and death, they remain dependent on external authority. Humanity is conditioned, step by step, further and further from its true nature. Every revolution, every evolution, every century, the grip of belief tightens. Ancient wisdom is increasingly labeled myth or fairy tale. The beliefs of the matrix today include vaccines and medicine, the illusion that the body is weak and needs protection, debt, and money. The financial system traps people in slavery, education, and media. Children are not educated but conditioned to fit the matrix. Religion and dogma. True knowledge of our divinity is replaced by fear and obedience. Death is the ultimate lie. The greatest illusion of the matrix is death. Religions teach us that we are here only temporarily and are mortal. But ancient scriptures say something else. Jesus said, "He who believes in me shall never die." In the life and teaching of the masters of the Far East, masters are said to be thousands of years old. Ancient yogis and mystics transcended death through mastery of consciousness, and many others came before us who reclaimed their true divine inheritance. Death is the foundation of the matrix. Once this lie is exposed, the house of cards collapses. Death is merely a construction of the brain, a program that keeps us trapped in fear. The truth is, life is infinite, and we are immortal beings. Lost truth rediscovered. In this video, I take you through key fragments from the book by Baird T. Spalding, author of the world-renowned series, The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. To tell the story in order, we must start at the beginning. The universe. The origin of Earth and humankind. That hasn't been easy, because what really is true? I have gathered as many ancient texts and documents as possible and compared what they say. The most detailed, logical, and clear explanation I have found is that of Baird T. Spalding, who received these teachings directly from the masters he so beautifully describes. I have read and explored countless theories. Many of them overlap, but none is as clear, direct, or deeply understandable as this one. For those unfamiliar with the book, here's a brief explanation. The Masters of the Far East is a powerful collection of profound wisdom. This is not a religious tale, nor is it a classic storybook with a narrative like we're used to. It is a report and studied journal of a remarkable expedition, where Spalding and a group of scientists and archaeologists went searching for traces of ancient civilizations, and found something that surpassed all known knowledge. Living masters, beings who fully understood and mastered life. Why do I choose this book in particular? Because after all my research, this book most accurately describes what truly happened to humanity. Where we come from, how we lost our connection to Source and fell into the Matrix, and how we can remember who we are again. It aligns with what I've found in many other scriptures and in all the patterns from history. I will bring many sources to light so you can understand this for yourself. Did it resonate with you or feel familiar? Then I encourage you to research further. Use what I share here as a starting point. Who knows, you may discover even more than I have. The truth often remains hidden, but for those who seek, it can be revealed again. If you want to read the original story, I definitely recommend finding the book yourself. What I share here is a free translation in my own words based on the original work, including many of my own questions. I've added many sources, scriptures, and supporting information. The answers I found carefully collected and expanded to make the story as complete and understandable as possible. Not just for myself, but for you, the reader or listener. The parts I use come mainly from the chapters: the power of thought, an ancient civilization, and the universe. What this story is about? This explanation takes you into something fundamental. How humanity strayed from its original consciousness. We now live in a world we call normal, but it closely resembles a form of hypnosis, a limited lower state of awareness. It's an artificial reality, a matrix. And yet people believe this is all there is, that this is reality. But how did it come to this? Why have we forgotten who we truly are? Why do we disconnect from the source of life? And why, after thousands of years of civilization, do we still supposedly not know why we exist? The paradox of our time: modern science claims it can reach other planets, clone humans, and even build artificial wombs. We have developed impressive technologies, yet the most important question remains unanswered. What is life? What is death? What happens afterward? And where did humanity originally come from? It's mainstream science, which claims to be the only source of truth, doubts everything it cannot measure, yet believes it understands the core of existence. A paradox. Enter with an open mind, without judgment. Listen and be moved. In this story, we go back hundreds, millions of years before Earth existed, and over 250,000 years ago on Earth, to a time when humans were still connected to their true nature, when life and consciousness were one, when the first steps were taken toward duality, the split between light and dark, spirit and matter, source and ego. This begins a long journey, a descent from purity to separation, but also a remembrance of who we are and how we can become that again. Here begins the story. The expedition of Baird T. Spalding and the discovery of the masters in the year 1894. A group of researchers set off on an expedition to India, Tibet, the Far East, led by American scientist and engineer Baird T. Spalding. These men, archaeologists, geologists, astronomers, and philosophers, were not seeking adventure or spiritual spectacle. They were searching for traces of lost civilizations, ancient knowledge, and the remains of prehistoric peoples. What they found was something none of them expected. While traveling through remote mountain villages, sacred sites, and forgotten ruins, they encountered a group of people who did not just speak of universal truth, They embodied it. They met masters. Humans who owned nothing, sought no power, and held no religious titles like those revered in the Matrix. But they lived in full harmony with the divine law of life. They could heal through consciousness, travel without moving. And some had lived for hundreds to thousands of years in the same body. In this book, they revealed the complete blueprint of existence. These masters did not teach a belief system. They invited the researchers to experience that all is life, and that humanity has a divine origin that can be remembered, activated, and brought into full expression. And for those who know this wisdom, you'll recognize it in countless ancient sacred texts. After hearing and reading this, it becomes almost strange that people don't see it, because it's truly written in the greatest of holy books. Whenever real wisdom about higher consciousness arises, it is often dismissed as myth, blasphemy, or misunderstanding. Yet Jesus said, "Be discerning." That means, don't just repeat the same mantras. Be investigative. Every person needs a different key to come to realization. The light must shine. The key must fit. People began to fight over truth because they had lost it. Instead of philosophizing, they began arguing, and that brought division. Now that I understand this, I can explain it more easily. It all has to do with the growth of human consciousness. As long as understanding has not developed, and one is still trapped in the hypnosis of the Matrix, one is blind, waiting for the key that someone might offer. With these videos, it is my wish to make a meaningful contribution to the awakening of the soul. The book that followed, A Revelation. Spalding later published his experiences in the book, The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, a 6-part series, one of the most remarkable works of the 19th and 20th centuries. It is not a novel, nor a traditional scientific report. It is part travel journal, part dialogue, part spiritual teaching, based on what Spalding claimed to have experienced personally. Later volumes. Spalding even shares photos of the expedition team and the places they visited, as proof that the journey truly happened. Although many readers feel the truth and power in his words, mainstream science has always doubted his work, not because of the journey itself, but because the events described fall outside accepted worldviews. Appearances, vanishings, immortality, thought healing, levitation, enlightenment without religion. These are not topics that fit traditional academic frameworks. Some critics claim Spalding's work is too visionary or symbolic to be taken literally, but others, millions of readers worldwide, recognize something deeper in his words. They experience it as a reminder of something forgotten in today's world, that humanity is far more than body and brain, that true power begins with inner mastery. Because if what he saw is true, that humans can live without disease, without death, in perfection and unity with Source, then our entire view of humanity must be turned upside down, that many thinkers say, is why his work is ignored, distorted, or dismissed as fantasy. You know what I appreciate most about Spalding? He never said, "Believe me," he simply said, "Read what I share, and feel for yourself if it's true." And that's exactly how I see it. You don't have to believe me. I'm not sharing this because I think I hold the truth. I'm sharing it because I found something that resonates. And maybe it will spark something in you, too. As humanity, we've been misled long enough by blindly accepting what others say. It's time we return to our own perception, our own inner voice. What I share here, and what others have also offered, see it as a compass, not a map. Use it if it fits. Set it aside if it doesn't. But never forget, The path to truth always begins within.